right. Welcome into Mount Polumbus Speaks here. Appreciate you guys always tuning in. As always, you guys have been a tremendous support to me as I've tried to grow this channel, both over on YouTube and here on Twitter, where I know the majority of you guys are watching. And I just want to let you guys know that I'm grateful. I am. So we'll do a little daily debrief here on Mount Polumbus Speaks. It is Sunday, and I hope you guys had a fantastic weekend. Boy, it was freezing out there over the weekend. Steve Jobs got that weather incorrect on my iPhone, so hopefully you guys stayed warm out there, in particular yesterday, where it was absolutely brutal. Before we get into everything, I do want to just take a quick second here to thank my sponsors. In particular, I want to thank my title sponsor, Safeway, who I've been working with on and off now for 5 or 6 years. They've been a huge part of Pedal Polumbus to beat ovarian cancer, and now they're part of Mount Polumbus Speaks. They've donated over $500,000 to ovarian cancer, probably closer to $600,000 or $700,000, honestly, in honor of my mom, Nancy, who passed away from stage 4 ovarian cancer for ovarian cancer awareness. And now they're on board with Mount Polumbus Speaks. So the pitch of the day is for the Safeway mobile app. If you guys don't have the mobile app, you guys got to go download that thing, because I'm telling you, once you download the Safeway app, you can do all of your orders online. They can save your orders. You can repeat your orders. You're gonna save a boatload of money. You can get rid of all the other delivery service apps because you order directly on the Safeway app. They're going to deliver it directly to your door, and I promise you are going to save a boatload of money in comparison to the other apps. So download the Safeway mobile app, Safeway Fresh Foods, Local Flavors. You do the ordering online, and Safeway will handle the rest. Also, quick shout out to my brother over at Ascend Barbershop, Anthony Castro. AC has been my personal barber now for... Alfred Castro, Anthony's other barber. I apologize there, AC. Alfred has been my personal barber over there for about 5 or 6 years now. If you are in the Parker area looking for a luxury barbershop experience, make sure you hit up AC at Ascend Barbershop. Okay, here's what we got for today. It's going to be a quick hitter. We don't have a ton of topics to go over, but we do just have a little hodgepodge of Broncos news, rumors, and offseason speculation to discuss. There are some odds out on T. Higgins. What team will he land with? We've got Jermaine Pratt, another surprise trade request at a position of need for the Denver Broncos. Inside linebacker out there in Cincinnati. People were surprised when he put his name on the market, wanted to get out of Cincinnati. There are some rumors and trends in the mock drafts that we're going to discuss. Would Pittsburgh Steelers be interested in trading for Trevor Lawrence? Yeah, they would, but would Jacksonville be interested in trading back? Different story. And then some Travis Hunter updates and lessons from the Super Bowl. So we'll dive into all of it, and I will start here with the T. Higgins betting odds. I apologize. I thought that I was rolling something there, but I was not. So I will just roll it up. I had a video planned for this, but that did not work out. And now Mount Palumbo has got to pull up the betting odds in real time. My apology. Next team. Here we go. T. Higgins betting odds, next team. All right, so according to sportsbetting.ag, the Denver Broncos are the current odds-on favorites to sign wide receiver T. Higgins if he hits the free agent market. They've got the Broncos at plus 300 to land T. Higgins. They've got the Commanders at plus 400. They've got the Steelers at plus 400 as well. So that's cool, man. Would I love to have T. Higgins on the Broncos? Yeah, in theory, I would. First off, I'd be very, very surprised if T. Higgins actually hits free agency. I would. I think the Bengals have made it pretty damn clear that they want to retain Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. That's easier said than done. However, one thing of note is that T. Higgins actually fired his agent, and he moved over to Jamar Chase's agent. almost as if they're trying to work a little 2-for-1 package there out there in Cincinnati. And there's also some rumors that Joe Burrow is willing to give up some money in order to retain both of those guys. So if you ask me who should be the odds-on favorites to land T. Higgins, I would say it would be the Cincinnati Bengals. That being said, do I think the Broncos should explore T. Higgins? Yeah, they should. They should explore absolutely every option that's on the board. T. Higgins will be the best wide receiver that hits the market. But it's going to cost you over $30 million. That's the going rate to go get a starting wide receiver in today's market. And you could debate whether it's worth it or not. I do think that wide receivers are going to hit a bubble here. I think that pretty soon that market is going to start coming back down because it is just going to pop. That market is going to pop at some point. And more times than not, teams that go real top heavy on the wide receivers, they actually don't end up in the Super Bowls. Just go back and look at the history of it. I would pursue T. Higgins, all that being said. But if you pursue T. Higgins, it probably comes at the cost of Courtland Sutton. It probably comes at the cost of pursuing a Deebo Samuel trade. It probably comes at the cost of getting a lower flight wide receiver in free agency. And I guess if you were to ask me what my personal preference would be, and I know I'm a bit on an island on this because most people you're listening to are saying they're not interested in Deebo Samuel. My personal preference for the Broncos would be for the Broncos to go after Deebo Samuel in a trade, re-sign Courtland Sutton to a long-term extension. The going rate for an elite wide receiver is about $30 million. I think you could probably get Courtland Sutton locked up in that $22 to $23 million range. Now, what is the asking price for Deebo Samuel? That's what it always comes down to, right? Would I give up a third rounder? Maybe, but if I could go get Deebo Samuel for a fourth rounder, get him locked up, get Courtland Sutton locked up at the same time, that sounds awfully appealing to me because now we're getting two for the price of one, whereas if you go get T. Higgins, you're probably going to have to let go of Courtland Sutton. Deebo Samuel, in my opinion, I know he's had some down years. I get it. And I know he's really only had one truly electric year. But Sean Payton's made it clear what his mission is in the offseason, and his mission is to go get himself a joker. Well, Deebo Samuel's the best joker in the NFL. That's what it is. And if you want to go get the best joker in the NFL, go get him. There are rumors that Taysom Hill might actually get released out there in New Orleans. We know how Sean Payton likes to get the band back together. So maybe that's something you could pursue. I'm not interested in Taysom Hill at all. Maybe if you get him at a dirt cheap price. I don't mind getting the band back together, but for the most part, when you go get the band back together, you're talking about role pieces. You're talking about role players. When you try to go overpay for guys in the past that are over the hill, that's when you start making a mistake. So my personal preference would be, explore T. Higgins, explore all of it, but I'd love to get me a Deebo Samuel here for the Denver Broncos. Another position need for the Broncos is going to be inside linebacker, and an interesting name just hit the market in terms of trades. Jermaine Pratt, who led the Bengals in tackles last season, had 2 interceptions and 2 forced fumbles along the way, has now requested a trade from the Bengals. That came as a bit of a surprise. I don't think the Broncos are going to be really overly interested in the trade market, especially if they were to go get a Deebo Samuel. That would probably be the one and only trade that they were going to do. But again, Jermaine Pratt is a name that you should be aware of, especially if things start to get a little bit toxic out there in Cincinnati. The Broncos needs on this football team offensively, you've got tight end, you've got wide receiver, you've got running back. Defensively, you've got inside linebacker, you've got a backup corner, you've got a safety need on this football team, and probably some interior defensive line depth. You don't need to go get any significant starters on the defensive line, but you do need to add some depth. So Jermaine Pratt would be a really good football player in a position of need. The other linebackers on the market, Zach Bond is a free agent. That's a name that you're hearing a lot connected to the Broncos. My personal favorite inside linebacker that I want the Broncos to go pursue, that's going to be Dre Greenlaw from the San Francisco 49ers. Unlike Zach Bond, and I'm not intentionally trying to take a shot at Zach, it's just the reality, Zach is a one-hit wonder. He's had one tremendous season in the NFL, and before that, he was a nobody. He's a good player, and in free agency, sometimes you got to overpay for one-hit wonders. So I'm not out on Zach Bond, but I'd be really in on Dre Greenlaw. That's just a dog that has been a dog since the day he entered the league, and he is ready to be a true number one on any football team. Okay, if you follow the NFL mock drafts, the current trend is that Ashton Genty is actually falling to the Broncos all the way to number 20. And if he doesn't fall to the Broncos, he probably will be sitting there at 17, 18, somewhere in that firing range if the Broncos wanted to move up a couple spots to go get him. The names to keep an eye on for the Broncos, you've got Tyler Warren would be a dream tight end. Colston Loveland would be another tight end that would be on the board. Ashton Genty, Luther Burden, wide receiver. Emeka Egbuka, another wide receiver. And maybe, and I do say maybe, if you wanted to go defense, Malachi Starks, safety out of Georgia, would be another player for the Broncos to keep an eye on. Those have been my top 5 players now for a while. I made a video on it a while back. If you missed it, check out my YouTube channel. It's living over there. Top 5 draft prospects for the Denver Broncos. You can find that video over on my YouTube. If Ashton Genty falls to the Broncos at number 20, my opinion, it's an absolute no-brainer. I am not an advocate of drafting running backs high. Generally speaking, that's bad news. Even in the second, third round, I'm not an advocate of it. I'm not an advocate of paying for running backs in free agency. It's just not a position that holds up, historically speaking, for high draft picks or high free agency signings. That being said, there are always exceptions to the rule, and my personal opinion is that Ashton Genty is a unicorn. He's a unicorn. He's as much of a can't-miss prospect at the running back position that has been on the board really since Saquon Barkley. So can I guarantee you he's going to have a Saquon Barkley type of career? I cannot. But what I can tell you is that Ashton Genty is going to hit in the NFL. It's going to work out. And here's the deal. The Denver Broncos offensive line that you knew from last year, that's going to be your offensive line again next year. That will be. That's my promise to you. The starting 5 offensive line that you had last year, that's going to be the starting 5 next year. I suppose in theory you could upgrade at the center position, but I don't think that they will. The other 4 spots are locked down financially, and they're locked down with really good football players. If you believe in what Pro Football Focus does, they had the Denver Broncos offensive line rated as number 1 in pass block efficiency and rated number 1 in win rate in the run game. So according to PFF, you had the best offensive line both in the running game and in the passing game. So if you want to improve the running game, which is by far the biggest need offensively, forget the weapons, forget the wide receivers. Yes, that would be nice, but there was one significant deficiency on this offense, and that was our running game. If you want to improve the Denver Broncos running game, guess what? You ain't doing it by improving the offensive line. You got your offensive line. Them dogs are your dogs. Whether you like them or not, they are your dogs. And I'm telling you, that's a damn good offensive line. Are they top 5? Maybe 6 or 7. Maybe just outside the top 5 in my overall rankings of offensive lines across the NFL. But they're pretty damn good. So my point is, if you want to improve the biggest deficiency on the football team, which was the running game, there's only one way to do it, and that's getting a new running back. It's not going to be with the offensive line. You have to improve it with a running back. Ashton Genty falls to you. I don't care if Tyler Warren is on the board. I don't care if Colston Loveland is on the board. I'm taking Ashton Genty. Tyler Warren, that might get a little bit complex. Most people have Tyler Warren off the board by 15. So if Tyler Warren was on the board and Ashton Genty, I wouldn't blame the Broncos if they selected Tyler Warren. I probably, and I reserve the right to change my mind because it's still very early on in the draft process, I probably would personally select Ashton Genty today, but I'll re-enter that conversation. Tyler Warren's a damn good football player and quite frankly would fit the role of a joker. Tyler rushed for like 243 yards as a tight end, so he can do a little bit of it all. He will fit the mold of what Sean Payton's looking in that joker role. You could probably talk me in to Tyler Warren if he were on the board. But if Ashton Genty's there, it's a no-brainer. You got to improve it. Now, listen, if Ashton is not there, I do think you can wait until the third round and you can still get some help in the running game. That Ohio State kid is a phenomenal running back. I think he's going to be a joker. ASU, Cam Scattaboo. I know a lot of people love him. He's actually not ranked as high as most people would think. Most people have got him as like the 12th or 13th running back off the board. But I know a lot of people love him, and you could probably get him in the fourth round, maybe even a little bit later. We'll see. Get Ashton Genty if you can high, and if you can't, it's all right. Take Colston Loveland, take Luther Burden, take the best player that's available there at number 20 in the first round, and then just relax. You're going to find other really good running backs a little bit later. I just happen to think that Ashton Genty is a unicorn. He's the type of dude that I will break my rules on of overdrafting a running back. There's always unicorns. There's always exception to the rule. Ashton Genty is one. I will say in the overall draft, mock draft world right now, the current trend has got both the Titans and the Browns passing on a quarterback. And I'm like, why? We're just taking the Titans at their word because the Titans said something along the lines of they're not going to force a quarterback pick. They're going to take a generational player if he's there. So everybody and their mother right now is assuming that the Titans are going to pass on a quarterback. Really? We're just convinced that the Titans are in love with Will Levis. They're ready to rock and roll with Will Levis for another year. They're going to pass on Cam Ward. They're going to pass on Shedeur Sanders. The Browns at number 2 are going to pass on Cam Ward or Shedeur Sanders if they're on the board. The Browns, who've got the worst contract situation in the history of the NFL with Deshaun Watson, and there's only one way out of that hell, and that is drafting a young quarterback where you can get a quarterback on a dirt cheap salary, and you do what the Broncos did. The Browns should be looking at what the Broncos did with Bo Nix and trying to replicate that. And yet everybody is assuming that number 1 is going to go Abdul Carter and number 2 is going to go Travis Hunter to the Cleveland Browns, or vice versa. Maybe Travis Hunter goes 1, Abdul Carter goes number 2 to the Cleveland Browns. And I just think that's asinine. I think that's absolutely insane. Not only is the Deshaun Watson contract situation absolute hell, he re-tore his Achilles. Deshaun Watson might not even play football this year. So I only bring that up because I always do find the Shedeur Sanders conversation fascinating. I think at this point, Cam Ward does appear to be the number 1 pick. But most people have got the Raiders selecting Shedeur Sanders sitting there at number 6. I don't think the Raiders are going to have that luxury. If the Raiders really want to select Shedeur Sanders, at the very least, they're going to have to trade up with the Giants. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy. Maybe everybody else has got it right that both the Browns and the Titans are going to pass on a QB. I just find that a little bit hard to believe. So, all right, just a couple more quick hitters from the Super Bowl. Mike Kliss wrote an article of 5 things that the Broncos could learn from the Super Bowl. Number 1, or actually we'll go 5 to 1. We'll go 5 to 1. Number 5, don't flinch. I guess don't flinch more or less just means stay true to your play calling. That's true. I do think that Sean Payton has had a history of flinching as a play caller, in particular in the running game. He's got to stay true to the running game. Obviously, the Eagles were one of the best running teams in the NFL, and that's why I'm an advocate of selecting Ashton Genty. Number 4, Howie Roseman. All right, people who couldn't understand how Broncos general manager George Payton survived the Russell Wilson, Nathaniel Hackett, and Randy Gregory errors, see the story of Eagles GM Howie Roseman. The Eagles GM since 2010. Roseman was banished to another side of the team's headquarters in 2015 by then head coach Chip Kelly, who had control over personnel department. When Kelly was fired after the 2015 season, owner Jeffrey Lurie gave control of football operations back to Roseman. The Eagles have been to the Super Bowl 3 of the past 8 seasons, winning 2. So the point of the story is they stayed true to their GM, and Mike Kliss apparently thinks the Broncos need to stay true to George Payton. I think George Payton's done a very admirable job. I think he's done a good job in the draft. I have no reason to want George Payton out of the building. I think he's working well. He's working in cohesion with Sean Payton, and I like that pairing. So I'm with you. I'm with you, Mike. Number 3, complimentary play calling. Okay, I won't go too into that, but I think we can all assume what that is. And then number 2, game manager QB play, which I think is a little bit of a shot at Jalen Hurts, maybe intended, maybe unintended by Mike Kliss. Jalen Hurts was nearly perfect in Super Bowl 59. He scrambled or carried for 72 yards. He completed 17 of 22 for 221 yards. But what I loved about Jalen Hurts in that game was his ability to take deep shots and connect, whether that was on the first drive when A.J. Brown got called for that phantom pass interference, or whether that's the third and the fourth quarter when they continue to take shots down the field. I think Bo Nix has already achieved game manager level. And I damn sure don't think Jalen Hurts was a game manager in that game. If the Broncos have Super Bowl aspirations, Bo Nix, he's going to have to learn how to hit the timely deep passes every single time the way that Jalen Hurts is. I actually disagree with that. I think game manager is oftentimes a shot. Oftentimes it can be a compliment at the same time. I already think that Bo Nix is a game manager. Now we need him to hit the big plays from start to finish. And then number 1, build the fronts. Well, the Broncos have already done that. They've already built a great defensive line, and they've already built a great offensive line. So I feel good about that. And the Broncos really don't have to worry about that. And actually now, because the Broncos have already accomplished that, now they get to go out and they get to add weapons. We get to talk about Debo. We get to talk about T. Higgins. We get to talk about Ashton Genty, Luther Burden, Emeka Egbuka, because they've already built the fronts. He ain't wrong. The Eagles have got one of the best offensive lines, one of the best defensive lines in the NFL. But actually, I feel great about the Broncos on both fronts. All right, that's all I've got for you guys today. Again, I just want to thank my sponsor, Safeway, title sponsor, Mount Polumbus Speaks. If you guys haven't downloaded the Safeway app, please do it today. You're going to save a boatload of money. It's easy to order. They can save your orders. You can just repeat it, and they're going to deliver it straight to your door. Safeway, fresh foods, local flowers. If you haven't subscribed to Mount Polumbus Speaks, please head on over to my YouTube channel and hit subscribe. You can help my algorithm greatly if you would like this video right here and comment on it. I'd be super grateful for that. So until next time, Mount